Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins' feud has been picking up steam on Raw, so we'll check in on what they're up to. We'll also see the latest big news for Nikkita Lyons, a new update for Naomi joining the Bloodline, and much more. Naomi is directly connected to the Bloodline through her marriage with Jimmy Uso. Jimmy Uso and Naomi are one of the most popular WWE couples that majority of fans have been familiar with for a long time. That's why when Naomi jumped ship to Smackdown in summer of 2021, in the peak of the Bloodline success, everyone was curious if there would be a storyline to get Naomi officially connected with her husband and the rest of the Bloodline members on screen. But instead, Naomi entered this long feud with Sonya Deville, which was interesting at the start but continued to be more and more inexplainable as time went on. That feud never had much payoff, and it ended with us never finding out why Sonya Deville hated Naomi and was picking on her so much. We never found out why, so that feud did have its story flaws. One of those other flaws was that Naomi is technically connected with the Bloodline, so why didn't Jimmy Uso put the word in to Roman Reigns about what Naomi was going through and try to get her some help via Paul Heyman or Roman Reigns? Again, that was another great story perspective that the fans brought up. If Naomi was going through all this harassment and abuse from the Sonya Deville character, why didn't her husband and the Bloodline take notice? When this point was brought up to Paul Heyman in several interviews, he said it was because the Bloodline was busy taking care of their own business. But just because you don't see them talking about it on screen doesn't mean that they're not aware of what's going on with Naomi. So it was a nice cover up there by Paul Heyman for that big plot hole. He said that the Bloodline could have been discussing Naomi's situation off screen. We, as the audience, just never saw and heard what those conversations were like. But the Sonya Deville and Naomi feud ended extremely anticlimactically and didn't really give us any big moments. Some fans thought Sonya Deville would lose her position as a WWE official by the end of the Naomi story. Some thought the end of the feud would have caused Naomi to snap, turn heel, and eventually work her way into the Bloodline story arc. But none of that ever happened. Naomi to the Bloodline is a popular theory that the fans have been discussing for almost a year, and has something that even Paul Heyman has addressed himself. However, one person who never shared her thoughts on the popular theory was Naomi herself. That all changed recently when she was interviewed by Inside the Ropes and was questioned about the longtime popular fan theory. Naomi had this to say about joining the Bloodline and working with Paul Heyman, quote, "I do get the Paul Heyman wisdom, and it is a little weird that I'm not in it, the Bloodline, because I'm always there with them. I'm always there. I'm always around. I'm always, annoying them. So maybe later down the road, or maybe there's something for me to come in with the boys, with Jimmy and Jey Uso. Who knows? But definitely something I would look forward to. I would want it to be the right time, and done properly." End quote. So Naomi made it clear that outside of the ring and when the cameras aren't rolling, she's always with them, always traveling and hanging out with them. But her on-screen WWE character currently doesn't have any affiliation with the Bloodline members. But Naomi did acknowledge the fact that it is weird she hasn't crossed paths with them in any way yet. But she seems very optimistic about the opportunity and story presenting itself in the future. She also addressed that she wants it to be done properly as well, which is what everyone wants. Everyone wants it to make sense, storyline-wise, and have an actual purpose behind Naomi interacting with the Bloodline. It's also an interesting element for Naomi's character because remember, we haven't seen Naomi's heel persona since right around 2015. That was the last time that we saw a heel Naomi. For the last 7 years, Naomi has been on a big babyface run, so it would be interesting and refreshing to see Naomi as a heel for the first time in so many years, and also for her to expand the Bloodline's dominance into the women's division. Roman Reigns made it clear after WrestleMania that he wanted to capture as many titles as possible. Well, bringing someone like Naomi into the Bloodline means that the family can now start extending their reach and go for the WWE titles in the women's division. It's a very interesting fan theory that makes a lot of sense. If the Bloodline is going to add a couple of new members, Solo Sikoa and Naomi are definitely your two top options. So we'll have to keep our eye on this story and see if Naomi does in fact ever make her way to the Bloodline down the road. Last time we went over NXT's Nikkita Lyons, we talked about how she was already connecting with the fans after a few weeks following her debut. Well, it's been over a month since that last update, but her star power has been continuing to grow more and more ever since. Reports are claiming that the higher-ups and backstage producers have definitely started to take notice of the huge potential that they have on their hands with Nikkita Lyons. It was reported that big plans are allegedly on the way for Nikkita Lyons and how she'll continue to be presented in a major way. Another thing fans have noticed and are paying a lot of close attention to is WWE's YouTube highlights. WWE usually posts all the highlights of their shows onto their YouTube channel, and whatever has the most views with those first 24 hours usually gives you an idea of who the fans are interested in the most. Well, Nikkita Lyons' tag team match from the May 3rd edition of NXT was the most viewed highlight of NXT that week, even picking up more views than the NXT World Champion Braun Breaker's match. So just another small statistic that shows Nikkita Lyons is really connecting with the fans. With that pace she's at, this growing star power, and continuing to improve in the ring, a lot of fans are starting to think that Nikkita Lyons may be credible enough to dethrone Mandy Rose down the line. Mandy has been champion for nearly 200 days and is obviously one of the biggest names on the NXT roster. So they're going to need someone huge that's credible enough to take that title off Mandy Rose. And a lot of fans are starting to look at Nikkita Lyons as that big threat to Mandy. Obviously not anytime soon. She's still brand new to the roster, but in a couple of months, if she keeps this momentum going, she may turn out to be a big challenger. So keep an eye on Nikkita Lyons. Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins will meet again at Backlash, and they exchange some blows in the ring on Raw. Seth took a lot of shots at Cody Rhodes' father, Dusty Rhodes, that Cody responded to on Raw Talk. Cody said that Seth's tactics of trying to get under people's skin like that, and said that he feels like people only bring up his father when they have nothing else to say. Cody mentions how he left Seth looking up at the lights at WrestleMania and how things will be no different at Backlash. So does Cody get a second win over Seth Rollins at Backlash, or does Seth even out the series and they can end this feud at Hell in a Cell? Hell in a Cell has been known to serve as a great closeout match for big feuds, so maybe they do try to get another Cody and Seth match inside the cell, but only time will tell. What are your thoughts on all of today's stories? Leave your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.